Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe. So we're going to do a little study on histrionic behavior, something Amber Heard had. A lot of people thought that she was a narcissist, and this is why I want to get a little deeper into it, just to kind of show us that sometimes we might misdiagnose our person. They probably do have a personality disorder. If you feel something is this wrong, that you're searching for hours on YouTube or doing your own research or asking questions, there's something off about this person. And she had borderline and histrionic personality disorder, according to the therapist during the court case. But what exactly is histrionic? Can somebody with narcissism also have histrionic personality disorder, and what exactly is it? So yes, a person can be a narcissist with histrionic traits, and they are very similar, and that's where it gets really tricky. That's why I think it's important that we go through this to see, are we correct in our pseudo diagnosis where we're trying to figure out what's up with this person, or do we need to do a little more research? So there are criteria to become diagnosed with histrionic personality disorder, and you need 5 or more of these 8 symptoms. For the first one, where you're uncomfortable in circumstances where this person's not the center of attention. They also, for the second one, inappropriate. They can be sexually seductive or provocative behavior in interaction with other people. They love to display rapidly shifting expressions. Emotions are often shallow. That's why a lot of us, when we saw Amber Heard crying, or another thing is how she would express things and just kept talking and talking and didn't really get to the meat of what she was trying to say. Also, for that was 3. Number 4, consistent use of physical appearance to draw attention to self. So she often, she is Hollywood, so that's part of it. Sometimes they have wardrobe coordinators, but she did dress pretty provocatively. Also kept her body in shape and was very seductive with it. So her style of histrionic people, their style of speech is excessively impressionistic and lacking in detail. So that's why I said she would kind of go off on tangents, and it didn't have the right kind of details in it. Self-dramatization, theatrics, exaggerated expression of emotions. You saw that when my dog stepped on a bee, how she like overreacted. Might have been traumatic for her, but it wasn't her that stepped on a bee, it was her dog. And was it a manipulation tactic to distract people, or what's going on with that? So she's trying to get a point across at court, trying to get people to feel sorry for her, trying to see that she's a good person. They're easily suggestible, so they can easily be influenced by others or circumstances. So who knows how she started getting into drugs, but she might have wanted to follow the crowd, so she started doing things that she wouldn't normally do if she was in a healthy state. Consideration of relationships to be more intimate than they are. She had lovers. Were they as into her as she thought they were? It seemed like her and Johnny Depp had a real marriage, but it was a real toxic marriage too. But these flings, did she realize that she was just being used, or it's just a perception thing? So people who have HPD, histrionic personality disorder, like I said, they feel unappreciated when they're not the center of attention. And you got to think about like Amber's marriage to Johnny. She probably was not the center of attention all the time. When he wanted to go do something or take a break because it was getting toxic, she lost her cool. She couldn't handle not being the center of attention. Had to follow him around. He wasn't allowed to have his own space for the most part. And they'll often draw attention to themselves by being overly flirtatious, super friendly. And if they're being friendly and flirty, if that doesn't work, they'll kind of up their game and they start creating scenarios that might draw attention to them, telling stories, or maybe now they're hurt, or they purposely spill something on themselves so everybody looks at them, feels sorry for them, whatever it is. It's just to get attention. I wouldn't even doubt it. They spilled something on their shirt, so they had to take their blouse off and you saw their bra, like purposely dropping towels, things like that. And oops, just to get as sad because they can use their body to manipulate. Now, there are some narcissists, some female narcissists, men can do it too, but it's more often women that can be sexually seductive to get their way. So that's where things start to like overlap and it starts getting us confused. Like, is a person a narcissist? Are they not a narcissist? Do they only have histrionic? What exactly is going on? So people with this disorder often dress more sexually provocative, and it's because it's what works for them. They turn eyes. People will look at them, whether they're even like, oh my gosh, did you see how short that skirt was? It's not always like, wow, she looks gorgeous. It's a shock and awe factor. So either it's like, wow, she is stunning, or he is stunning. It can even be like, oh my gosh, did you see how low cut that was? Or did you see where the rip in the jeans were? Like, oh my gosh, I could see their underwear. Things like that. They don't care. They do these things on purpose. So they just want attention. So if this is to be considered a symptom, we also have to take into account where the person's from. So if it's a French person who's used to walking on the Riviera topless, and then they come to, I don't know, Daytona Beach or wherever. I don't even know. Can you go topless on Daytona Beach? Maybe you can. But let's say you can't. And they're walking around just in a G-string thong bikini, no top on. That's normal where they're from. So we have to take that into account. Or, you know, if they're used to wearing a hijab and all covered up, and now they're not, you know. So you have to take that into account. Is it appropriate where they're from, or due to their beliefs and stuff? So there's another thing where it has to be a recurring pattern. So they just, you know, went to a college dance and they dressed provocatively. That's just a one night out and they wanted to get dressed up. But if it's like consistently, it makes a difference. It's just to draw attention. Some people, you know, we can dress in flattering ways, but I'm talking where it's attention seeking. It's not just feeling good about yourself or getting dressed up for a night out. It's above and beyond. And I think you guys have seen that in certain people where it's like, that's a little much. So unlike people that have NPD, the narcissistic personality disorder, they don't always think that they're the prettiest. They don't think they're the most gorgeous person in the room, but they want that attention. So they'll do what it takes. Narcissists tend to be a little bit more secure in believing that they're the best of the best or the worst of the worst. It's a different confidence, I guess, or belief in who they are. So they strive to be the most seductive, where they can seduce away somebody from a partner. I saw also the Nameless Narcissist. You know, he would try to win over people just as a challenge. He had stated that. So sometimes it's a difference in tactics on which personality disorder, whether it's money or looks or conversation topics or sexually seductive. And that's where it gets really hard to know somebody's intention and where that motivation is coming from. So just like, you know, if I slapped you on the face, you're not going to like me. But if it was like, there's a mosquito biting you, and I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm sorry. I just thought it would kill it. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Sorry. But if I'm slapping across the face because I want you to shut up, or intent matters. Intent matters. And intent matters on whether we forgive somebody. Should I have hit you if you had a mosquito? Maybe I should have brushed it away. But if I did that, do you hate my guts now? But if I'm constantly slapping you because I want you to shut up, intent matters. But be careful on when you forgive people, you know, intent matters, because that's going to show what they're going to do in the future. And empathy matters too, because if somebody can't relate to your pain, they're not going to handle you with care. And I gave that analogy of people who don't have, where their nerves aren't working. They don't handle things, even if they try, they can either be too fragile on it to where it's going to drop, or too hard on it. They don't have the feeling. So that's similar to the narcissist with their empathy. They don't have the feeling, so they're not going to handle it the right way. They're either going to be dismissive or too overbearing, controlling, demeaning, dismissive, but HPD. So because of this dramatic behavior, a lot of times you'll have to deal with temper tantrums. You saw Amber Heard throwing things, cut off Johnny Depp's finger. She can, they might sob loudly, but you don't always see tears. They also mentioned too that sometimes Botox can inhibit the production of tears. I've seen some plastic surgery surgeons who said that it looks like that she's had some Botox and things like that. So that can affect too the facial expressions that we saw with her too. But she definitely threw some temper tantrums. She was also really conniving on how she purposely wanted to record him, but she instigated him. She didn't just set up the camera and like, let's see what he does. Does he throw a fit? She was like, oh, what's going on? And she was trying to get him instigated. And that's where it's toxic. Sometimes some of you guys are like, I'm going to record my narcissist so I can show him what he's doing. But I saw this one kid who did it. It kind of pissed me off because he probably got in a fight with his dad, and he was trying to help his dad, and his dad kind of might have said something, who knows, but the kid was like, college kid was like, I'm not helping you anymore, walked away. And then he recorded it, but the way he did it was really disrespectful, really instigatory, if that's a word, trying to instigate his dad. And the dad's asking for some space. So that's where, it's just toxic all around. He didn't try to handle it with the dad. You can see where there's some toxicity in it, but you can also see where there's the instigation, the dismissive, the dad's trying to say, I've asked you not to post this on YouTube. He even took him to court. So we have to be careful too when we're dealing with people that we're not instigating. There's a difference between handling things and instigating things. And that kid was definitely instigating. Did he have a right? It could have been handled a different way. The mother was even saying, maybe you said something to him that, so it sounds like he has a history of not saying things correctly. But when they're histrionic, they're easily susceptible to being suggestible. And that's where it can lead to toxicity in their lives, to where they can be manipulated into things that they don't want to do. So not only are they trying to get their way, they're also being used, and then that's going to change how they feel about themselves. And they often don't realize what reality is in their relationships. And it's interesting to me that it's more common in women than men. And I was doing some more research on DID, multiple personalities, all this kind of things. And the dissociative disorders, some of these things are more common in women as far as the multiple personalities, things like that. And brings me back to Sybil. She was, if you've ever seen that, I can't remember, she had 43, I don't know, a lot of maybe it was 40, like 57 total, 9 of them were men or something like that. She had male personalities, she had female personalities, she had one that spoke in French, all different kinds. And she was sexually abused. Her mother like sewed up her vagina and just, I think she cut her too. I don't know. It's just a big mess. And I know so many women that have been sexually abused. Men can be sexually abused too. But I wonder if that type of abuse leads to more of the escaping, not just anger, but escaping or splitting into different personalities. I'm doing more research on that. So it's just interesting how certain personalities disorders have, or even just mental illness. Some are more men, some are more women. And why does that change? We do have different hormones, different expectations in society. But I wonder if that type of abuse changes how we deal with mental illness and whether we're susceptible. So the HPD, histrionic people, they can have comorbidity, whether it's bipolar. Some of them might have substance abuse disorder. I think Amber Heard kind of dabbled in that. But, you know, the symptoms are the major symptoms, but it's difficult to determine exactly what a person has because you have to look at the patterns over time. And people with HPD often find it difficult to have stable relationships. So do narcissists, though. So it's hard to pinpoint where is that tip of the scale? Where is it where it's now comorbid? Because histrionic has a lot of similarities to narcissism, and they can be comorbid at the same time. So they often have a short commitment span. They tend to get bored, frustrated, anything that takes too much time they don't like. They get excited about a new plan. And they can get excited about these kind of things because of how suggestible they are. So you can say, oh, I just started selling Mary Kay. They're like, oh, I could do that too. Or whatever it is. Like they jump on the bandwagon and they get excited and they don't think the things through. Just like in their relationship, they don't think the things through. And once they do that project or whatever it is, whatever challenge, starting a new business, a new job, a health regimen, whatever it is, they start to lose interest. And this can extend into their relationships as well. So histrionic is also associated with some other mental disorders such as somatic symptom disorder, conversion disorder, major depressive disorder. It can even lead to narcissism, antisocial, dependent personality disorders, borderline. As you can see, Amber had both of those, Amber Heard. But what causes it? It's not known for sure. They feel that it could be possibly genetic because it seems to run in families sometimes. But you got to think too, this is where things get distorted because there's no cut and dry on it, because it could be genetic, or it could be that these families are just toxic. And it's the same type of toxicity leading to the same type of mental illness. So luckily, we've been able to do certain twin studies in different mental illnesses, but they have a lot of different schools of thought on what causes this. A lot. If you see a trend across all of these, they relate it back to the childhood. Like I told you guys before, I used to think it was a bunch of BS about this childhood trauma crap. The more you study it, the more it's going to be eye-opening. The more you're going to understand yourself, your brothers and sisters, your parents. It makes a huge difference. So it's kind of important to understand your new partner once you move on. What's really going on with them? Not everybody is going to have a personality disorder, but a lot of us have triggers. And if we can understand people better, we can get along better. So I just wish this world was healthier than it is. And it seems to be like an epidemic going on, pandemic of mental illness. So a lot of times they'll use psychotherapy to treat HPD, which means that the individual will use some talk therapy. They might have certain therapeutic activities that the therapist wants them to do. Sometimes it's in group counseling. So there are different types of psychotherapy that can help manage histrionic personality disorder. Notice I didn't say cure, but it's support therapy. They can use psychodynamic, also analytic psychotherapy, cognitive behavior therapy. It seems there is a lot of cognitive behavior therapy that is helpful across these personality disorders, but is it really just a Band-Aid? So medication is not very effective with somebody who has HPD, but if somebody, just like our narcissists, if they have comorbid issues like major depression, or if they're suffering from anxiety disorders, that's when the medication can ease some of their stress, which eases some of their outbursts. That doesn't really cure the narcissism or histrionic personality disorder. So it's hard. So just like us going through our CPTSD or just our depression, it's important just like for anybody. But histrionics and narcissists, you know, they're told to practice healthy eating, sleeping, regular exercise, stress management, and it can help the overall health of somebody with HPD. But that's kind of a catch-all treatment because that's good for everybody. So we're also sleep deprived as a nation. I live in the United States. I don't know where you guys are. I went to China for a month and a half, and they got to take like, I think it was 2 hours in the middle of the day. And I was going through the offices, and they have like these rollout mats, and they're required to take a break for 2 hours. So they work long hours, like 12-hour days or so, but they take a nap, and they, you know, we're all exhausted. We're all exhausted, financially strained, stress of the world, uncertainty, and then we have COVID on top of it, and all these shootings in the United States. We're probably top on the shooters, which is really sad. Some of you are from war-torn countries, poverty, disease, not enough water, healthy water. And something's got to change. You know, the sexual abuse people go through, and that relates to the entitlement of people, where they see people as objects. And that's damaging. We need love. It's one of the basic necessities of life. And when we don't get that, we don't thrive. So right now, as we're trying to heal, just remember that's a basic need. We have to take care of our basic needs before we can get to the other needs. And I'll do a video on that. I'm tired, but I'll stay up and do a video on that because we need love before we can progress on. So stay tuned for the next video and I'll see you. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, share with others to help them. See you soon.